All right, we're back on a short week as the Patriots get ready to take on the Jets on Thursday Night Football. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Dussault, joined by Evan Lazar and Tamara Brown, here to break down the Thursday night affair with the Jets coming up. And guys, real quick, let's look back briefly. Our segment, we like to call it Take It and Leave It. Patriots disappointing overtime loss, unfortunately, to the Seahawks. Evan, I'm going to start with you. What's your leave it? What are we leaving behind from that loss?
I'm going to go with the pass defense. Obviously, we know the pass offense has some issues to work out as well, but maybe the pass defense a little bit more fixable at this time than the offense. I just look at some of the things that they did against Seattle, some of their tendencies, some of their tricks that they tried to play in coverage against the Seahawks. It seemed like the Seahawks were a step ahead on them in some of those instances. You know, some of the coverage disguises and rotations, DK Metcalf getting loose for a long touchdown. The Patriots have to button it up there in the back end, and then hopefully this pass defense can get back to where it was in week 1.
All right, Tamara, what are we taking with us from that loss?
Y'all are gonna get tired of me saying this, but run the dang ball. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson got into the mix as well. The Patriots have to keep running the ball well. It's their DNA, it's their formula at this point. And if you look at the Jets, in their first 2 weeks, 180 yards on the ground by the 49ers with no Christian McCaffrey. Week 2 against the Titans, another 130 yards rushing. So if you're the Patriots, you gotta like what you're seeing on the stats according to the rushing offense that they've been able to put on the field.
Yeah, I'd like to take with us the lack of turnovers. That's a great sign too. Let's keep that rolling. Great sign. Start the year off with 2 games, 0 turnovers to the Patriots. Guys, let's move on to the Jets though. And we know this team, last time we saw them was out here in Gillette Stadium knocking off the Patriots after losing 15 straight, going back to 2015. Let's see if the Patriots can get back on track. Evan, I just want to start with Aaron Rodgers. Didn't have to see him last year. He's back. His first game on Jets home field since tearing his ACL.
Yeah,
his Achilles.
His Achilles, but first home game is a good point. Looks a little rusty to me. I'm going to be honest with you, especially week 1. Yesterday against the Titans, maybe found a little bit more success there. But what you do see out of Rodgers, he's still got that pillowy touch throwing the ball down the field. You give him man coverage and he just has to feather it in there to Garrett Wilson. He still has that ability, not necessarily the off script or the scrambler that he once was pre-Achilles, pre-40th birthday, but in general, you look at Aaron Rodgers and you see a quarterback that you're probably not going to throw a bunch at that he hasn't seen before. And I think that's the biggest thing for this Patriots defense. First couple weeks, they really tried to spin the dial on Joe Burrow and Geno Smith. You're not going to be able to do that against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm expecting them to play it a little bit more straight up this week.
Tamara, he mentioned Garrett Wilson, one of the best young receivers in the game. He's got about 100 yards so far, 10 catches, highly targeted. Seems like he's become Aaron Rodgers' go-to piece.
Yeah, I think when I look at this Jets offense, what really scares me is what Evan touched on earlier. The Patriots secondary did not do that well against the 3-headed monster that the Seahawks had. So how are they going to do it again this week against the Jets? I'm hoping that last week they got a good measuring stick on where they are. I know Duggar owned up to some things in the locker room post-game about bad communication, miscommunication. So I'm hoping that they can clean that up on this short week and play better because they're going to need to against another 3-headed monster the Jets have.
Yeah, let's look at that backfield though, Evan. We know Breece Hall, and we liked Braylon Allen coming out of Wisconsin, a giant running back, had a couple touchdowns last week. Those 2 guys are delivering explosive plays for the Jets.
Honestly, it reminds me a little bit of Zach Charbonnet, who they just played last week with Seattle. Just a bowling ball Braylon Allen is. I think he's the youngest player in the league, by the way, which is kind of cool. But just in general, he's just a bowling ball running back, big dude. We saw him as a Patriots fit for that reason, get downhill and run those gap schemes right at teams. But I look at Breece Hall as a player that is really trying to come into his own in the league, and he's got that extra gear in the open field. We saw it here last year, big run for a touchdown. That's a big part of their offense moving forward, is getting Breece Hall the ball in space in any way they can. They'll throw it to him, they'll run outside zone, they'll try to get him outside the tackle, and they'll try to get him into space, and he can create those big plays.
Tamara, a couple years ago, we were on our draft show, and I remember you pounding the table for Jermaine Johnson. Unfortunately for the Jets, it looks like Jermaine Johnson suffered a significant, maybe Achilles injury last week. But Will McDonald, another young pass rusher, stepping up. We know how disruptive this front can be. they're a problem. You got a couple Quincy and Quinnen, two of the Williams boys, but those guys can get after it.
Another tough week for the Patriots offensive line in the trenches, especially against this Jets defense who, like you mentioned, does not have to play Jermaine Johnson. I'm really happy about that. But I think for me, it's going to be up to who's playing at left tackle. At this time, we don't know if Vidarian Lowe is going to be able to go. It might be Caden Wallace, who, was playing in overtime when Lowe went out with a knee injury. So I think the way they're going to have to be in this game is winning in the trenches. And I don't know how they're going to do it with the current offensive line, but I hope that they scheme up something good.
Evan Sauce-Gardner in the secondary, what do you see from those guys?
Well, they're a big zone defense. They play a lot of cover 3 quarters. They're one of these teams that likes to rotate in and out of those 2 zone defenses. And their whole defensive tree, Robert Saleh and that entire 49ers tree, is predicated on limiting explosive plays through the air. So they're going to make you march the ball down the field and snap the ball as often as possible and try to get you go the long way home. And that Patriots offense has had some trouble creating those big plays in the passing game. So it's a little bit of a, you take away the big plays, we don't make them anyways, right? But at the same time, I feel like with this Jets defense, that's what you see. It's rush 4 guys. They don't do a lot of blitzing. They don't do a lot of exotic things, but they're extremely structurally sound in the back end, and they're very, very good at playing zone and smothering the football and not giving up yards after the catch. So if you're going to beat this Jets defense, it's going to be 10, 12, 15 play drives. You're not going to get it all in one play.
All right, guys, last segment. We're going to pick one key Patriot here for the game. I'm going to start with Antonio Gibson. I thought he was a really nice complimentary piece last week with Ramondre, gave some explosive runs. Seems like he's comfortable getting outside a little bit. I think those guys are going to fit really well together, hoping he continue those explosive plays. Tamara, who do you got?
I go Jacoby Brissett. This game, he's the game manager. The ball is in his hands. So if the Patriots are going to have success, it's going to be him not turning the ball over and him being able to use his legs the way he has the last 2 weeks and creating those plays like he did with Hunter Henry. A lot of those came on improvisation.
I'm going to go with Alex Van Pelt. A little outside the box this week. Just feels to me like there's a couple things that this offense really needs an infusion of. One of them is Demario Douglas. Can we get Pop Douglas the football, please? The second thing is we talked about the deep passing game or the lack thereof. The Patriots coaches are taking that on the chin. Gerard Mayo has said multiple times that's on us first. We need to figure out ways to scheme guys open and get guys open down the field. They have to have a left hook. Right now, the right hook, Tamara, you talked about it earlier, the run game's working. They're running the football well. You got to be able to sequence play action off the run game and get this thing going down the field, because if you don't have those big passing plays, it's going to be tough to score.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Be sure to tune in on Thursday night, 6 o'clock for the Patriots pregame show. Tamara and I will be there. Evan will be down in New York, or I guess New Jersey, checking out the action live. And then be sure to tune in for the Patriots-Jets, a big AFC East battle as the Patriots try to get back on the winning track.